On March 1st, 2025, something quietly changed in the global economy. Not with a headline, not with a press conference, just a single line item in a tariff schedule that most people scrolled past. But if you know where to look, you can see the pattern forming again. The same pattern that reshaped supply chains in 2018, the same one that triggered a manufacturing exodus in 2019. And now it's back. Except this time, everyone's pretending it isn't happening. Let me show you what I mean. Remember the trade war? The one everyone said ended? It didn't. It just went underground. And while the world was watching inflation headlines and interest rate drama, something much quieter was building in the background. A new wave of tariffs. Not loud ones, not the 25% sledgehammer variety. These are the surgical kind. 7% here, 12% there, targeted, strategic, and spreading. Here's why that matters. When the first trade war kicked off in 2018, it was obvious. Steel tariffs, aluminum tariffs, soybeans caught in the crossfire. Markets panicked, supply chains scrambled. But eventually, things stabilized. Companies adapted. Some tariffs stayed, some got rolled back, and the world moved on. Or so we thought. What actually happened was this. The architecture of economic conflict just got more sophisticated. Instead of big flashy moves, countries started using what trade experts call non-tariff barriers. Regulatory delays, standards compliance, licensing requirements. Things that don't make headlines but absolutely wreck supply chains. And now, in 2025, we're watching it accelerate. Let's break down the mechanism because it's simpler than it sounds. Imagine you're a company that makes electric vehicle batteries. You source lithium from Australia, process it in China, assemble batteries in Mexico, and sell them in the United States. That's your supply chain. It's complicated, but it works. Now add a 10% tariff on processed lithium from China. Suddenly, your costs jump. But you can't just switch suppliers overnight, so you absorb the cost. Margins shrink. Then add a regulatory delay in Mexico because new environmental standards require 6 months of additional testing. Your production schedule collapses. Then add a licensing requirement in the US that takes 90 days to process instead of 30. None of these things are technically a trade war, but together, they function exactly like a one. And here's the uncomfortable part. This is happening right now across dozens of industries. Semiconductors, pharmaceuticals, rare earth minerals, solar panels, the sectors that matter most for the next decade of economic competition. The data tells the story. In the first quarter of 2025, rerouting costs for Asian manufacturers increased by 34% compared to the same period in 2024. That's not inflation, that's friction, trade policy friction, and it's accelerating faster than it did during the 2018 peak. Here's where it gets ironic. Everyone spent the last 2 years talking about reshoring and friendshoring, bringing manufacturing back home, building supply chains with allies. It sounded great. In practice, it created a world where economic borders are being redrawn in real time, and nobody's quite sure where the lines are anymore. Because friendshoring doesn't mean free trade, it means conditional trade. And conditional trade means more rules, more inspections, more paperwork, more costs. A semiconductor executive told Bloomberg recently that navigating today's trade environment requires 3 different legal teams just to ship products between allied countries. 3. That's not efficiency, that's entropy. And the math is starting to show up where it hurts. Electronics prices are expected to rise 8 to 12% by the end of 2025, not because of inflation, but because of embedded trade compliance costs. Your next phone will cost more not because chips got more expensive to make, but because shipping them through the new regulatory maze costs more. The same pattern shows up in solar panels, car batteries, medical devices. The markup isn't visible on a tariff schedule. It's hidden in shipping delays and compliance overhead and legal reviews. But you'll pay it all the same. Now zoom out. What we're watching isn't just a trade dispute between two countries. It's the early stage of something bigger, a global economy that's fragmenting into regional blocks, each with its own rules, its own standards, its own gatekeepers. Some economists are calling it the splinter net of trade. Instead of one integrated global market, we're drifting toward 3 or 4 partially connected zones that don't really talk to each other efficiently anymore. And here's the part nobody wants to say out loud. There's no mechanism to stop it. The WTO is basically non-functional. Multilateral trade agreements are politically toxic in most countries, and every nation has discovered that economic coercion works better when it's subtle. So the incentive is to keep turning the screws quietly, because loud escalations create backlash, but quiet friction just becomes the new normal. Which brings us to the real question. How long can a global economy run on increasing friction before something breaks? Because here's what we know. Trade worked for decades because it was relatively frictionless. Predictable rules, enforceable agreements, low costs. That system created prosperity. Not perfect prosperity, not equal prosperity, but measurable growth that lifted billions of people. Now we're running the experiment in reverse. What happens when you add friction back in? When every border gets a little thicker? When every supply chain needs a lawyer? We don't actually know, because we've never run a modern economy this way. The optimists say we'll adapt. Markets will find equilibrium. Companies will adjust. And maybe they're right. But the historical pattern is less encouraging. Because the last time the global economy fragmented into competing blocks, it took a world war to integrate it again. That's not a prediction. It's just a data point. What is clear is this. The trade war never ended. It just got quieter, more technical, harder to see. And while everyone was celebrating the return to normal, the architecture of conflict was being rebuilt piece by piece in regulatory language and compliance requirements and strategic industrial policy. And the bill for all of it, that's just starting to come due.